Yo, it's your favorite N-word. And this time, I'll be telling you about the Monsterlings. And a whole lot of monsters of the Tri-Stone era. It's a real good one, so pay the fuck attention. Monster, an imaginary creature that is typically large, ugly, and frightening. For the Tri-Stone era, that is not true. Monsters are humans too. As you've heard in the previous folklore pieces, humans will abuse when they think and feel they can get away with whatever. There are also adorable monsters that lack any aggressive characteristics, but will pack power like all things Omega. In the perfect worlds, monsters often make them seem as not, but I call the Tri-Stone era the perfect worlds because there is no such thing as a white male patriarchy in it. With that being cleared up, I want to folklore the Monsterlings to death. 6 children, beautiful and handsome to the universe, as it's the one that has created every single thing that's out there. What they wanted to do with everything out there revolves around keeping those of the innocent mad safe, even real safe, even lovely safe. With them all being born into monster-related families, they have never been afraid of them, whether it's due to memory, genetics, or just cause, because they have seen the frightening faces of all kinds as babies. Giganto, Cataclysm, Velvella, Iyahka, Thyannon, and Grumble make up a superhero league known as the Monsterlings, a radical set of heroes who know nothing but to conquer bravery for a safer tomorrow. No strangers to any type of battlefield, no strangers to any type of foe, no stranger to any type of ally either. Triple threading their own dossiers since they were teenagers, simply to be better than their parents and any generation known to man. There's one, larger than life, and when he's not flexing, his monsters are. There's one with abilities of fucking up several battlefields worth of terrain at once. There's one, smooth as chocolate, velvet cake, but has no problem with taming the wildest of the wild. That includes humans. There's one, favorite kind of weather is raining bodies. All launch parties belong to her. There's one, with an addition of possession that will better, change, alter, screw, or end any witness's desire to remember his atrocities. There's one, will turn any mob of enemies to a shake and bake recipe. You've been warned so many times your eardrums should know who I am. Your favorite N-word, the apocalypse of literature. Bringing you one of the superpowers of the Tri-Stone era that is often the cause of apocalypses. They tend to have natural vibes, energy, and airs about them. That state of being makes it easier to tame monsters and master monsters. They feel like something is more important than that though. To friend monsters. Allies are best served when they trust someone that's commanding them to fight or protect. But there are monsters that you, even know that will not be tamed. They get tamed though, one way or another. A gigantic monster will choose life over death. It's the highest difficulty when wanting to claim one. A true triumph once done. All of them have their gigantic collections, but Giganto has so many, you would think he has doubled in age by now. Think of Sin from Final Fantasy X. More than 5 handfuls of those types of monsters, which leads us right into an apocalypse. His sister Cataclysm, in the heat of ultimacy levels, can fuck up half a planet. If you guessed right, they are the leaders of this outfit. Been big game child heroes, bigger game teen heroes, and the biggest of gamedom as real heroes. Everyone says they are lucky. They were born with 3 other monster wielders of massive might. Only time would tell when they were all pitted with each other, so that tradition could reign high again, coming in the form of an Edgemite monster slayer. Velvella was the one out of the legion that was luckier. I say luckier because she made the situation more lucky for mankind. Luckier because it would make things easier. Another batch of luck sauce, and they didn't have to deal with too many hindrances. All 6 of them saw the opportunity of might through the gifts of their might. At the sweet age of 7, their parents made it so. They came to that conclusion closely after their first meeting. Now you're probably thinking they had it mad sweet because everything was just handed to them. Nope, just their initial meeting. They were already clearing 100 push-ups as tykes. They were looking forward to a grueling life because that's what they were told they would have. All things special revolved around how they were taken care of outside of the battlefield, each and every time. Because the generation before had the same situation, there was no need of finding a life purpose, discovering a life purpose, or that lame thing called destiny. They chose to be all-star contenders in the constant battle of good versus evil. They have been keeping happy faces their entire lifespan because they know they have saved people, and they know life is the most sweetest when there's no danger around. Teaching different societies every time a mad scientist abuses his intelligence to make a monster, whether it's on purpose or not, they'll be there, or another monster handler will be there. It's prime when they show up though, even when it comes to clearing out monster details of forming planets. Their most common source of work is like that, touching unmanned areas for the betterment of mankind in general. Started off 10 doing that kind of work, where all 6 of them had to be pitted with walking terrain for a long time until a monster thinks they can take them, focusing on their natural warding off monster abilities as early on as possible. They were always protected before their powers came all the way in. By that time, they were all capable of life-altering things. That's just in giving the information of what they could do on their own. Yet, when there's a super league being developed, the more the merrier. Through all of the atrocities of seeing people slain in person and having to do some slaying themselves, the camaraderie of growing up with like-power individuals made everything absolutely stunning. With a steady balance of friends, purpose, travel, and culture, they were considered all-stars by the time they were 17. They have been highly capable of researching new monster details, hunting monsters down, capturing monsters, taming monsters, and slaying monsters of any size and type. So let's get into those any sizes and types. Mythical creatures list: Pyreflies, phoenixes, Aobhans, pegasi, unicorns, owenwarks, which are snakes with wings, elements, griffins, panthers, and magic carpets. Mythical monsters: serpents, wyverns, behemoths, groxes, which are the hands, dragons, minotaurs, centaurs, chimeras, slime moles, cyclops, mimics, skeletons, zombies, gargoyles, and Kyogyns, which are the eyeball tentacle monsters. The Tristone monsters, vegites, which are vegetation mutated to be like humanoids. Mutants in general. Monoliths, which are giant forms of rock. Wraiths and dinosaurs. The Tristone intelligent species. Humans, elves, stars, woodians, mag people, mare people, dragonborns, fairies, devils, angels, and wisp. Even though some of them are called creatures and monsters, they can still be considered intelligent. That's if they have societal structures across the lands, like story number 24, Year of Monsters. It's the only story that has all monsters I've ever created living in it. Monsters in that story have control over more than half of the planets, while humans do not. They have about 40% of the planet because of how the war between mankind and monster kind started. 11 human families drew a line that turned the bylaws of the world so upside down, they were considered gone. It's something humans do because they are the real monsters. More realer than any monsters ever created, and that's on how many times I keep telling everyone's eardrums. The types from the list that appear in the Crimson Collective are humans, wisp, Kyogyns, centaurs, dragons, dragonborns, elves, stars, woodians, mare people, mag people, fairies, devils, angels, groxes, serpents, wyverns, behemoths, gargoyles, dinosaurs, vegites, pyreflies, phoenixes, unicorns, elements, griffins, mimics, magic carpets, groxes, and pegasi. In one way or the other, but it's mostly humans and wisp taking the helm of the center. In this universe, in this story, humans are a whopping rate of 50 versus 50, meaning there are 50% that are law-abiding and 50% that are self-abiding. If you've done the math right, you can figure out that that's where all of the drama of humanity comes from the people who raise their offspring under selfish manners. My house, my home, my name kind of shit. When humans live in such a way that their own significance is more important than anyone else's, say hello to a dumbass system called tyranny. For those who behave in such selfish manners have one thing in common. It's my way or the highway, but to make that worse, they are now saying there's no other way than my way. That's where villainy comes in, where a single person's goal outweighs any of the fruits of a stable society. No worry, our heroes, the altruistic sacrificials, make do by being rewarded by all societies, under the guise of feed them, give them shelter, protect them while they slumber, then wish them well when they leave. All societies have come accustomed to such a thing. All of our heroes are safely guarded by those who aren't mighty as them. By guarding their location, acting accordingly to anyone looking for them, and holding down their establishment as if operations are status quo. To guard the light of humanity is something the mighty cherish with no qualms. Sure, muscle failure workouts go extremely hard. Sure, monsters be fucking like bunnies. Sure, some new organization can pop up at any given moment and terrorize a random society. Sure. It's a sure that every day we all choose light or dark. Both are rewarded, but in this world, the light are rewarded way more. A lot of our heroes see one thing and agree that that needs protection. The innocence of children. Sometimes, villains protect that too, and will go down in history as a villain, but upon their death, their history is more viewed through how many lives they saved while terrorizing. As stated before in multiple folklore pieces, resurrection and the technology that resurrects are mightily sent, but one thing two natural-born enemies have in common is the protection of innocence. Monsterlings see humanity in a very widespread, random way. They don't get to see kids smiling all the time. In most places, they don't get to see kids have a group hug, see them waving goodbye, listen to their jokes, get a fist bump from them, let them sit on their shoulders for a while, or even know they exist. Yep, that's how far out they be. For keeping monsters down keeps them from getting to the societies around the stars, not letting them mysteriously board a spacecraft, not letting them walk through portals, not letting them get a hold of any brain chemical. Ooh, child. These scientists and I need to fuck around and find out go have us all out here looking stupid. Granted, some of them have made great strides in human advancements because of their theories, but out of a high capacity of 97%, they need to stop. Or the Monsterlings will literally meteor into their facilities like Dirty Pair taught them. Now imagine, 3 dirty pairs. You will feel so many concussion blasts, your hearing will be lost for a while. When I say the Monsterlings are overpowered, they, all 6 of they, can put their hand on a loaded armored truck and simply push it 1 foot from where it's parked. Now imagine them winding up some magical might. Now imagine them strategically using that might to calm a monster so they can use it for its benefits. Now imagine them having to put 2 hands on a tooth that's longer than them and snapping it in half. Now imagine a monster snotting at the nose. You're welcome. As we move along, be prepared to understand their choices of monsters. Giganto, 7 years old, of Tanzanian descent, hailing from the house of Silvestri, he proudly commands the following monsters: Cerberus, Chimeras, Hydras, and Care Bears. Cerberus, 3-headed dogs, over any breed with the additive of hell, shadow, or darkness powers. Chimeras, 3-headed humanoid formed mutant. He likes for his chimeras to have a goat, a lion, and a cobra head. They come with the additive of tightness powers. Hydras, multi-headed winged or wingless dragon, comes with the additive of any superpower. Care Bears, comes with the additive of any superpower. He prefers types of ammunition, gunpowder, explosion, armada, and ray. What he brings to his group is the metronome factor behind his Care Bear category. Will occasionally hybrid transform into Shoddy Bear. Yeah, you didn't think he was going to make an appearance, didn't you? Because shotguns are awesome. With the Care Bear category also comes the Team Plus additive. Care Bears have a history of group powers coming together for the greater good. He can harness his entire crew at any given time for ultimate output or to end the threat. With them all getting along so greatly over the years, their passive powers have united in a sense to where they can connect with one another across all battlefields, often resulting in them being split up, but with their army of monsters, and how they communicate with one another, they have no choice but to win. Threat level is always Omega with this group, and it begins with Giganto talking about a gigantic strategy around one of his 10 gigantic monsters. Be prepared to marvel at that list. Times 3 giant trilobites, a giant monolith of ice, a giant Varuna, a giant bull, a giant 4-spike walker, and times 2 giant wraiths. He is the only monster wielder of today's time that has more than 5 giant monsters with the magical might of dimensioning them and releasing them consistently. I will word the situation where he had to summon 7 of them. That'll be the closing statements of this folklore piece, because it was one of the few times the entire group were in jeopardy. He's a Galactic Class one-man army hero, annihilation hero, sanctuary hero, strategist, monster slayer, capturer, and tamer. Cataclysm, 7 years old, of Tanzanian descent, hailing from the house of Silvestri. She proudly commands the following monsters: Cyclops, Terraforms, Marlboros, and Wraiths. Cyclops, giant one-eyed humanoid mutants. All Cyclops come with the additive of ray and light powers. Terraforms, symbiotic horde and liquid-forming beings. All Terraforms come with the additive of morph, X, and life powers. With them being able to form in any way they think of, they are the most unpredictable types of monsters. Marlboros, giant slime molds built around the ideas of mouths. All Marlboros come with the additive of poison, pollution, and/or death powers. Wraiths, mutant poltergeists with hidden humanoid features. They always appear as if they are emitting smoke from every inch of their vessel. You can touch one, but you will never be able to see their skin. They come with the additive of afterlife powers. Think about using Cyclops as a means of forming overpowered instantaneous attacks, where their power can be magnified by terraforms, Marlboros, and Wraiths. It's her cheat sheet to covering the decimation of miles on miles of terrain at a time. Yes, there's a big-ass eye over the horizon. Yes, you can see a giant fence in the sky. Yes, you will see giant mouths in the sky. Yes, an ominous amount of smoke in the horizon will make you retreat. With the filter of magnifying ozone's proposes, UV raying anything is just a thought away with her. One thing is for certain, if you see a giant eye appear outside of a planet, that ray is going to channel someone into evaporation. Not even a closed casket funeral. Not even ashes left. Cataclysm is in charge of times 5 giant Cyclops. Rarely uses them, but spends so much time communicating with them, you'll think they were more important than her own brother. That's how you keep a monster in your back pocket. She's a Galactic Class one-man army Shiro, annihilation Shiro, sanctuary Shiro, strategist, monster slayer, capturer, and tamer. Thyannon, of Nubian descent, hailing from the house of Abregu. He proudly commands the following monsters: Gargoyles, Serpents, Monoliths, and Elements. Gargoyles, from midget to giant size, these monsters can enter stone or metal form at any time. A highly powerful gargoyle can be invulnerable while in stone or metal form. They have the additive of charm, lava, earth, or crystallization powers. Serpents, giant snakes, comes with the additives of any superpower. Good luck, and they can survive space air at any given time. He prefers liquid-based powers. Monoliths, giant stone golems, comes with the additives of any superpower. Technically, they are all considered colossal gigantic types. He prefers liquid-based powers. Elements, spiritual elemental crystals, comes with the additives of only primary powers. Thyannon is a play on the words, my cannon. Now it's your cannon. That's for everyone who needs protection. Whether he's fighting with his sledgehammer or battle cannon, he can launch anyone in any direction at the speed of 300 miles per hour. Has been known to consecutively launch villains or monsters into outer space, making him famous. Most humans are afraid of him because he's hot-tempered and he will never play with threats again. Again, because one too many took advantage of his mercy. He threw that shit away. Becoming an elemental master at a young age had him tapping into the ether of existence. He's regarded as one of the purest of the watch list because of how he filters pure magic. with primary elements routinely being the main ones for protection. He is deemed the protector all around, up and down. He's a Galactic Class one-man army hero, Annihilation hero, Sanctuary hero, Strategist, Monster Slayer, Capturer, and Tamer. Iyahka, 7, of Caribbean descent, hailing from the House of Yetch. She proudly commands the following monsters: Pyreflies, dragons, Stegosaurs, and Kyojyns. Pyreflies, ghostly fireflies, but big. These monsters filter connections to the magical veils of every world. With that, they can help people communicate with the dead via harnessing in on their spiritual energy to summon them. Fire and afterlife powers are their additives. Dragons, have the additives of any superpower. She prefers powers that result in eating or spreading. In short, gruntage, poison, and fire. Stegosaurs, with high octane spinning, she can slash will her way across any battlefield. They come with the additives of tightness. Kyojyns, eyeball tentacle monster, naturally living in the abyss of outer space air, keeps them breezy. Nothing is much of a threat to them. Their additives are ray powers, but often joined with astronomy, weather, portal, heaven, and or hell. I say that, nothing is much of a threat to them because they are a docile, intelligent species, and they don't want to give anybody any chance to figure out how to destroy them. So they mind their motherfucking business, if you know what I mean. Moving along. If you're considered an enemy, you're at a disposition with her, especially if you're a killer. Summoning victims of monsters helps her filter the right hunting methods for a threat. Knowing exactly how the victims were handled keeps her and her crew from getting handled. If you assume she's invulnerable, she is. To keep her neck in check, she will never hesitate to use her cheat sheet. With how she wants to live a full life, she holds the same sentiments for the innocent. Will absolutely hesitate on the never tip to try to save everyone in the vicinity. A Shiro complex she definitely has, but it's within reason. Loving the Utopia Protocol tends to make the best of heroes. Her altruism is always backed up by a full fleet of dragons, Stegosaurs, and Kyojyns. To the point, all of her comrades will enter every battle on the back of dragons, accompanied with an incredibly fast-moving Stegosaur on the ground, while they have a Kyojyn apiece hiding in the mirror dimension. Even though they can survive on their own, with plenty of years leading up to their masterful strategies, it never hurts to have overpowered help on the ready at all times. She is a Galactic Class one-man army Shiro, Annihilation Shiro, Sanctuary Shiro, Strategist, Monster Slayer, Capturer, and Tamer. Grumble, 7, of Dutch descent, hailing from the House of Zevery, he proudly commands the following monsters: Tyrannosaurus Rexes, Phoenixes, Mimics, and Skeletons. Tyrannosaurus Rexes, not like a normal T-Rex. They have arms, mad arms. Good luck. Comes with the additive of sound powers. Phoenixes, come with the additives of life and fire powers indefinitely. Other times, any other power could show up through them. Mimics, a treasure-chested poltergeist, always in the form of an exact treasure chest that has variable appearances. Yet, there will be a lock, there will be teeth, there will be eyes, once it reveals itself. Comes with the additives of afterlife and currency powers. Skeletons, a possessed skeletal system of any living species, can literally pluck a skeletal system from a vessel and enchant it to be bound to its commands. Comes with the additives of energy powers. If you guessed it, he has a thing for devouring enemies, whether it's through the methods of a mimic or a Tyrannosaurus Rex. His goal is to use the pressure of jaw muscles to hold an enemy captive. A kill command is executed whenever he doesn't need any more answers. Other times, he's putting a corpse of a victim in a mimic to be resurrected later. He never wants to resurrect during an epilogue because he's usually focusing on a very huge threat. Huge threats revolving around bones, but for the most part, he is the lifesaver of the crew. He likes to roam around with several mimics following him. With how much noise they make, he likes to give off the aloof vibe. What's a treasure chest to a gun, right? Go fuck around and eat them bullets, then have you eating them bullets. Lastly, Grumble likes to, every now and then, leave a treasure chest close to ground zero of an epilogue, whether it's in a temple, a shrine, the wilderness, a spaceship, a space colony, or somewhere of the unknown. He leaves no less than 20 million worth in the chest he leaves behind. Those types of treasure chests tend to be 8 by 16 by 8 feet, with the appearance of the vibe you get when Oprah Winfrey is brought up. You're welcome. He's a Galactic Class one-man army hero, annihilation hero, sanctuary hero, strategist, monster slayer, capturer, tamer, and resurrection specialist. Velvella, 7, of Sudanese descent, hailing from the house of Mogul Maguri. Strong until she falls is her grand sentiment. Been giving that vibe to her comrades since she met them, that instilled in them to chase magical might as if it would never be theirs, for the purpose of keeping heroism true to the game. The unpredictable nature of existing is a constant game changer, but it's in how Edomites love humanity enough to give them an archive of monster handling every time they form the new monster handling super league. It's in Velvella's name, to be honest. Started calling herself that when she learned a lot of synonyms to the word smooth. The culture she experienced through her new lifelong comrades will always be status quo to her. From the first moment the 6 of them were put in a pit of untamed monsters to the latest gigantic golem she has conquered, they have been the smoothest monster handling super league. Growing up in the house of Mogul Maguri meant that she is a part of one of the original families of Edgemere. Still roaming around the giant planet without any worries, they are revered as the most trusted family whenever a subject of monsters comes up. They have people in all of the 10 capital castles, people on each of the moons, people across the real world, people across dimensions, and people across many other universes. They are spread across so many universes to the point you will never be able to follow their family tree. Has about 70 of them at this point, and there is no definite count on how many branches to roots they have. One thing is for certain, there's a family member in Monster Rancher, Digimon, Pokemon, Monster Hunter, and several other worlds we all know. Pinpointing them would be pointless, but no, they use their God reality and existence reality panels to ensure that their DNA RNA stays on the right side of any proverbial society, meaning they want to be protectors like their firstborn. Harnessing all of their intellect and bravery is mighty, but because the internet is so prevalent, anyone could find that information out. Endology is what the family professes in. Ensures that. With how proud Velvella naturally is, it kinda put targets on their back. It's a mystery how many of those kind of protectors will be targeted, but they have been targeted, time and time again. But there was one try that put all of the Monsterlings in jeopardy. Back in year 8120, there was a special event happening on planet Arox. Savor City is the capital of Creole, Solorno. It's also his birthplace and where majority of the people he saved are from. That same group of people were celebrating Grumble. He helped save a few spaceships during a freak outer space situation that would have resulted in thousands of deaths. With it also happening in Rugen Head, aka Solar System 9, they really wanted to honor him by making a whole weekend about him and the Monsterlings. Yet, there was an organization looking to take out those 6 heroes once they were all there together. On the first day of the celebratory weekend, there was a parade. Same parade will be happening on Sunday too. That's when Balloonery decided to act. Balloonery is a terrorist organization full of extreme radicals that all fall under the category of chaotic evil. They began perfectly wiping out happy people in huge numbers in year 3022. It's been impossible to apprehend them since, but it's been impossible for humanity to be afraid of them. The sentiment was, why would we allow an evil organization to take balloons from us? Well, that did last for a couple of centuries when they successfully completed their 5th terrorist attack. This when Purge decided to create a specific detail in studying their history. To counter Purge hunting them down, they had to start spreading out their terrorist attacks while making them more offensive, treacherous, and fatal to make up for the lack of their activity. In 8120, they somehow somewayed a large amount of ancient monsters from Edgemere. a plan they have had in the works for 1,300 years. How they move around in the shadows isn't the focal point. It's gathering information about all types of monsters that's the focal point. They had to work to get those gigantic monsters on their spaceship and to keep them tamed until it was time to unleash them. When it was time to, they teleported their spaceship parallel to ozone layer of planet Arox and dropped all 10 of them close to the shores of Saber City. During the second parade meant to pay homage to Grumble and his teammates, Balloonary's goal was to destroy a great beacon of hope for humanity while taking out one of the capital cities. So many people died that day, so many resources gone, so much beautiful architecture gone. Big, gigantic, demonic, and hardly manageable monsters were eating and fucking that city up. With it only being 6 of them, and whatever else bravery was around, they couldn't do much. They were being managed by Balloonary, and the longer this onslaught went on, the more despair their survivors showed. They have all been told to never summon their giants in overpopulated areas, but they had to. Otherwise, 10 Godzillas were going to keep going across the continent until another super elite would come to slow them down until they had enough forces to take them all out. Grumble summoned his 3 giants. Iyahka summoned her 3 giants. Thyannon summoned his 3 giants. Cataclysm summoned 3 of her giants, and Giganto eventually had to summon 7 of his giants. Because these were giant ancient monsters of immortality, destroying them revolved around a whole lot more collective power than those 6. Velvella eventually had to summon her 3 giants, but in the end, all of them lost their giants except for Giganto, with none of them dying, but they couldn't stop the death toll of their city until it reached 45%. That's a whole lot of death, a despicably nasty amount of death on top of ruining a capital city for life. The Monsterlings didn't let Grumble's celebration go down in flames though. He actually summoned his monster army to start gathering the bodies of the dead. His league joined in afterwards, even though they were also ran through. All of them were limping around, ignoring medical professionals. Velvella was able to successfully resurrect her 3 giant Aobhans as well as a whopping 20% of the people, but Grumble lost all of his phoenixes. All of them. Balloonary made sure by having anti-phoenix hunters already in the city. They had anti-monster hunters all around that city that decimated their army of monsters. It was a miracle all of them walked away with more than 50% of theirs. It was a painful day in their lives, but Balloonary failed. Balloonary released a statement after they realized that the 10 ancient monsters they dropped down were all dead. Purge can't make it there in time because they didn't expose themselves during the whole 57 minutes of hellified death and destruction. It was in how everyone allowed the Monsterlings to grieve that evening, how so many heroes came together again to show Balloonary they'll never win. It took a great amount of hugs to quell their disappointment and villainy. Their tears weren't in vain. Balloonary has always been under the radar until the boom happens again, but this attack on humanity didn't turn the Monsterlings into monsters. It taught them something they'll never forget. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Something they were already accustomed to, but that was when Thyannon stopped showing mercy to villains. That's when Cataclysm decided to house even more bigger Cyclops. That's when Velvella fell in love with them for the umpteenth time. That's when Grumble started housing giant human skulls for the eatery of it all. That's when Iyahka started going into firing ranges, sometimes twice a day. That's when Giganto made 6 permanent Care Bears. Each one of the Care Bears had a symbol relative to what the 6 of them represent. The other 5 decided to leave 6 permanent monsters behind too, so that the 36 of them would restore Saber City over time because it needed to be saved. It took them a year and a half to lay spiritual rest to the region. When they were all done, the Monsterlings came back to reclaim their monsters. They didn't want to leave. They had too many fallen comrades there and saw too many dead humans to not be a monument for their land. In 6 separate places, one of each of their monsters wanted to be made into statues, to be guardian spirits of the region. It was a tearful day for the Monsterlings. That day showed them something they've never thought about. Honest unity between monsters that have been fighting together for more than a decade. Their sacrifices to be monuments was nothing short of Robin's song. Had all 6 of them snot-nosed. 6 sets of golden statues showing Care Bears, Cyclops, Aobhans, dragons, gargoyles, and mimics are still at their hexagonal points to this day, holding in so much magic that the region will permanently see golden sunsets until the statues are finally taken down. It won't be in their lifetime. possibly for 10 more lifetimes. Who knows? One thing is for certain, they've been looking for signs of balloonery ever since. To the point, every time Purge calls them, that ringtone will wake them the entire fuck up. Regardless of any current duty, they would definitely zip across the universe to help bring upon the fall of balloonery and any other high terrorist group. You should take a trip to Saver City though. It's returned to a somewhat prosperous state. Anniversary time allows them to bring more light to a once darkened place, but citizens and travelers do more than just anniversary time. The 6 sets of golden statues are honored what seems like hourly. The people will forever consider the Monsterlings saviors for what they did when they were the only big-time heroes around, at their evil time. Screams haunt this land, somewhat still, but the golden skies constantly guides mankind closer to light, keeping people from roaming the lands alone at night by guiding them to smiling faces before the sun sets. Darkness will be ushered out though, one way or another. The ushering started when the Monsterlings all cried golden tears those years ago. There are the seeds that have been helping with cleaning another stain of balloonery, another stain of monsters. It was never about using monsters. It was never about monsters knowing how to clean up another monster's mess. It wasn't even about gaining their loyalty. It was about welcoming. Being in a world where society doesn't frown upon monster wielders makes it easy for anyone to choose the better side of virtue. Humanity has come a long way in this world. How they have accepted every superpower is lovely. Even though there are some that will fear us into the next generation, most humans are super beings nowadays. They know that superpowers are hereditary. Some superpowers are wow for a lifetime. Then there are superpowers that allow people to be less afraid to exist. A monster being gentle to a child and have a child being gentle to it is something for all lifetimes. 'Cause in the end, everyone is a child of someone, no matter the age. Embrace the fearlessness of innocence so that everyone can step into tomorrow.